There is a truth older than empires, buried beneath every breath you take, an unseen force shaping your joys, your losses, your destiny. And the most disturbing part is this: it has been guiding you all along, while you never once realized you were part of its design. Before we go deeper, subscribe to the channel to support American Wall Street so we can continue creating powerful videos like this for you. We rarely stop to notice the invisible structure that holds our lives together. Yet everything around you, every triumph, every heartbreak, every stranger who crosses your path, is woven from the same living fabric. The Stoics believed the universe is not a cold machine, but a single, breathing organism. Nothing in it is dead, nothing is isolated, nothing stands alone. And whether you accept it or resist it, you are a thread in that vast tapestry, moving exactly where the greater pattern pulls you. Welcome to American Wall Street. To live wisely is not to force the world into the shape we desire, it is to see the world as it truly is. Most suffering begins the moment we demand reality to obey our expectations. We imagine we control the tides, yet we rage when they do not move for us. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning, the universe is not required to please you, it is required only to continue being itself. When the Stoics speak of nature, they do not mean forests, rivers, and mountains. They speak of the governing intelligence behind everything. A principle that moves the stars and guides the seasons also shapes the path of your life. The question is not whether you approve of this path. The question is whether you will walk it with clarity or with resistance. There is nothing meaningless in what arrives at your door. Difficult people, unexpected misfortunes, sudden opportunities, they are not intrusions, they are assignments. Not punishments, not rewards, but lessons designed by the very same order that sustains your existence. A wise person meets each moment not with rebellion, but with recognition. This too belongs. This too is part of the whole. When you understand this, something extraordinary happens. You stop fighting the world and begin cooperating with it. You stop fearing what comes next and start seeing every encounter as guidance. You discover that the universe is not your enemy, it is your instructor, and your role is not to rewrite its script, but to perform your part with dignity, purpose, and awareness. The world is not chaotic, it is precise. It is not random, it is relational, and your presence in it is not accidental. You are here because the order of things requires you, right now, exactly as you are. The question is whether you will rise to the role nature has written for you or refuse to hear the call. Now a question for you to reflect on. Comment A or B below. A. Do you believe everything happens according to a larger design? B. Or do you believe events are completely random? Your answer reveals more about your philosophy than you think. There is a moment in every life when the world does not bend the way we want it to. A plan collapses, a relationship fractures, an opportunity slips away, and something inside us begins to tremble. Most people believe these disruptions weaken them, but the Stoics taught a truth that overturns this fragile belief. Your inner power is not measured by what happens to you, but by how you transform it. Nothing outside of you has the authority to shape your life unless you grant it access. What crushes one person can awaken another. What breaks someone else can refine you into something far stronger. Marcus Aurelius described the mind as a fire. A small flame is sensitive to every breath of wind, but a great fire consumes whatever is thrown onto it and rises higher because of it. The same is true for your spirit. Obstacles are not interruptions in your journey, they are raw material, the very fuel that allows you to expand. You do not grow in the absence of hardship, you grow by learning to reorganize yourself around it, to draw from it what others cannot see, and to forge from it a clarity that complacency never offers. But to do this, you must confront the most dangerous adversary of all, the illusions you create within your own mind. A setback is neutral, the story you attach to it is destructive. When your thoughts insist that you are cursed, unlucky, inadequate, or doomed, you are not reacting to reality, you are reacting to your own invention. The Stoics believed the greatest harm is not ignorance of the world, but ignorance of ourselves. To persist in self-deception is to hand over your power willingly. Yet, the moment you allow truth to replace illusion, even if that truth is uncomfortable, your strength returns. There is courage in looking directly at your own flaws, your own emotional storms, your own impulses. Most people avoid this inner examination because it threatens the fragile identity they cling to. But you are not fragile. You were built to reason, to choose, to rise. When anger surfaces, acknowledge it without bowing to it. When fear whispers, listen without obeying. When frustration tightens your chest, breathe and distance yourself from the judgment that ignites the pain. The sensation is natural, the conclusion is optional. True inner power is not loud. It does not shout or strike or seek validation. It is the quiet authority of someone who knows that nothing can disturb the fortress of their mind unless they open the gates from within. It is the confidence of someone who adapts, not because they are weak, but because they understand that flexibility is a form of strength. When you stop demanding that the world be easier and instead train yourself to be wiser, you discover something rare: resilience born from understanding, not resistance. Every difficulty you face contains a hidden invitation. Will you shrink beneath it, or will you use it to ignite the fire that has always waited inside you? The raw materials of greatness do not come wrapped in comfort. They come disguised as burdens, placed in your path so that you may turn them into fuel. The question is not whether obstacles will appear. The question is who you will become when they do. There comes a point in every life when a person must decide what sort of human being they intend to be. Not in grand speeches, not in moments of public applause, but in the quiet spaces where no one is watching. The Stoics believed that character is not built in crisis, but revealed by it, and that virtue is the only possession no one can take away from you. Everything else, wealth, praise, opportunity, reputation, can vanish in an instant. What remains is the integrity with which you navigate the world. To live well is not to chase admiration or accumulate accomplishments. It is to act rightly, simply because right action is its own reward. If something is untrue, do not speak it. If something is unjust, do not commit it. These are not restrictions, but freedoms. They liberate you from the heavy chains of guilt, deceit, and self-reproach. When you betray your own values, you fracture something internal, something essential. You may hide it from others, but you cannot hide it from yourself. The mind is a witness that never looks away. Seneca wrote that the person who does good must do it the way a vine bears fruit, naturally, without expectation, without calculation. When you offer kindness with the secret hope of repayment, you are not giving, you are bargaining. A generous act becomes meaningful only when it asks for nothing in return. And yet, paradoxically, this kind of giving returns more to you than anything you could demand. It returns the peace of knowing you have acted in harmony with your nature. For the Stoics, human beings were not solitary creatures. They were parts of a larger body. Just as a hand does not work against the arm that holds it, people are meant to cooperate, to support, to uplift. When someone behaves poorly, it is often because they cannot yet distinguish good from harm. Anger toward them is as pointless as anger toward a blind person for stumbling in the dark. You can correct them, guide them, or simply walk around them, but hatred serves no purpose. It punishes you more than it teaches them. True strength is shown in how you treat those who cannot repay you, and how you respond to those who misunderstand you. You cannot control their opinions, but you can refuse to be diminished by them. Their thoughts belong to them. Your integrity belongs to you. When you act according to virtue, you anchor yourself in something that cannot be moved by the shifting winds of public judgment. And this is the heart of Stoic social responsibility, to live in such a way that your actions contribute to the well-being of the whole, not with grand gestures, but with consistent decency, to speak honestly even when deception would be easier, to remain compassionate even when others test your patience, to embody the kind of person the world needs more of, not because it is required, but because it is right. A life guided by virtue is not always easy, but it is always free. Free from regret, free from pretense, free from the burden of betraying oneself. And in that freedom, you discover something rare, a quiet dignity that no circumstance can take away. There is a subtle truth the Stoics understood long before modern minds tried to grasp it. Most of our suffering comes not from what we live through, but from the way we wander through time. We drift into regrets about what can no longer be changed, or into fears about what has not yet arrived. And in that drifting, we lose the only moment we are ever truly given, the present. The present is small, fleeting, fragile, yet it is the only space where action, choice, character, and life itself occur. Everything outside this sliver of time is imagination. To return to the present is to reclaim your power. The past has already surrendered its outcome. The future has not yet offered its terms. What remains is this breath, this step, this decision. A person who can anchor themselves in this moment becomes unshakable because they are no longer fighting battles that exist only in memory or speculation. Most people exhaust themselves battling ghosts. The Stoic seeks instead to master what is before them, here and now. But presence alone is not enough. It must be paired with clarity. Your mind can only serve you well if you train it to perceive reality without distortion. The thoughts you allow become the lens through which you interpret the world. If your mind is cluttered with assumptions, fears, and unnecessary desires, even the simplest situations appear overwhelming. This is why the Stoics placed such importance on simplicity. Not simplicity of possessions, though that can help, but simplicity of thought. When you strip away what is unnecessary, what remains becomes unmistakably clear. Every day you are faced with countless choices, yet only a few truly matter. To ask yourself, is this necessary, is not an act of restraint, it is an act of liberation. Much of what we chase, we do not need. Much of what we fear never happens. Much of what we cling to weighs us down more than it carries us forward. When you commit to eliminating the non-essential, you make space for purpose to emerge. Purpose does not appear in a mind filled with noise. It arises in a mind willing to be quiet enough to hear it. Purpose is the compass of a disciplined life. Without it, your actions scatter like dust in the wind, busy yet directionless. With it, every effort aligns towards something greater than impulse or convenience. The Stoics believed that a life without a goal cannot be lived consistently because nothing guides your decisions. When you choose a purpose rooted in reason, service, and integrity, your daily actions begin to harmonize. Choices become easier, distractions lose their grip, and your energy flows into what truly matters. Self-reflection is the thread that binds all of this together. At the end of each day, a person must look inward and ask, did I act with intention? Did I surrender my mind to fear or noise? Did I follow my purpose or abandon it for comfort? The answers are not for punishment, but for refinement. Growth is not a sudden transformation, but the patient work of aligning your inner world with the person you seek to become. To live with presence, clarity, simplicity, and purpose is to reclaim your mind from the chaos of the world, and in that reclamation, you discover a deeper freedom, the freedom to truly live. There are seasons in life when the weight of existence presses on the soul so heavily that one wonders whether the burden can be endured. Yet the Stoics taught that the human spirit was forged precisely for these moments. Hardship is not evidence of failure, it is evidence of being alive, of being shaped, of being strengthened. The mind, like the body, is fortified by resistance. Without challenges, it weakens. Without adversity, it never discovers its true capacity. What feels unbearable today often becomes, in hindsight, the very chapter that revealed who we really are. This understanding changes everything. When hardship arrives, most people recoil, believing they are victims of cruel chance. But the Stoic sees something different, a call to rise with dignity, a summons to practice the virtues they claim to admire. Courage is meaningless without situations that demand it. Patience cannot exist without discomfort. Wisdom cannot develop without confusion to clarify. Our most difficult moments are not interruptions in our growth, they are its catalysts. And woven throughout all of this is the truth we try hardest to avoid, the reality of death. Not as a threat, not as a punishment, but as a natural conclusion. Death is not the enemy of life, it is the boundary that gives life its shape. To understand that your time is finite is not to despair, it is to awaken. Suddenly, every gesture, every word, every choice becomes charged with meaning. The Stoics did not meditate on death to darken their thoughts, they did so to sharpen them. When you grasp that nothing is promised, you stop wasting what is given. It is often said that fear of death is universal, but what we truly fear is the thought that we have lived without purpose, without virtue, without honoring the potential within us. A person who has lived uprightly does not tremble at the end of life. They recognize it as the final act of a play they have performed with integrity. They leave not in panic, but in peace, knowing they did not betray themselves. Virtue, then, becomes the anchor in a world full of uncertainty. It is the quiet courage to act rightly even when no reward is visible. It is the internal strength to remain just, honest, and compassionate, even when those around you are not. Virtue is not perfection, it is devotion to what is highest within you. It is choosing dignity over convenience, principle over impulse, and truth over comfort. And in doing so, you nurture a soul that no misfortune can corrupt. The Stoics insisted that nothing outside of you can truly harm you unless you allow it to reshape your character. Pain may affect the body, circumstance may disrupt plans, people may misunderstand or betray you, but your moral clarity, your integrity, your commitment to virtue remain yours alone to guard. When you live this way, adversity cannot break you, it can only refine you. Life becomes profoundly simple. You face what comes with acceptance, you give what you can with kindness, you act with honor, not because the world rewards it, but because your soul requires it. And when your final moment arrives, you meet it as a friend, not a stranger, knowing you lived not merely long, but well. A life shaped by Stoic wisdom is not a life free of difficulty, but one elevated by it. When we accept the order of nature, strengthen our inner resolve, live with virtue, act with intention, and face mortality without fear, we transform every moment into a step toward clarity and dignity. The world may shift, but a disciplined mind remains steady, turning obstacles into opportunity and time into purpose. Deep lesson. Your greatest power is the ability to govern your own mind. You cannot control events, people, or outcomes, but you can control the meaning you assign to them. Master your thoughts, and you master your life. How to apply it today. When faced with stress or uncertainty, pause and ask, what part of this belongs to me and what part does not? Release what lies outside your control. Focus only on the response that reflects your highest values. With repetition, this becomes strength, then freedom, then peace. A simple question for you. Do you believe inner strength is built more through discipline or through hardship? Please share your answer in the comments so others can learn from your perspective. And remember to subscribe to the channel to support us as we continue creating meaningful content for you.